Okay, now I'm going to create a Google form that can be used for answering questions about a video that you might have created or that you might have inserted onto a Google site that you've made for your students to watch. So in my Google Drive, I need to click on the red Create button and choose Form. There's just been a pretty major change to the way Forms looks, and I don't know if that's true within our Google Apps for Education domain, so we'll just have to see. It looks like Forms are still starting with the title, text at the beginning, and 2 sample questions. So I'm just going to show you a couple things so you understand why they have these features and how these features work, and then show you what the different types of questions look like. So up here at the top, there are 3 checkboxes. My advice to you is if you're using this for school, check the second one, which says require the Harker School sign-in to view this form. That means students and or staff would need to sign into their Google Apps accounts that Harker has issued them in order to use this. If you've checked the second one, you can also check the third one. That's your choice. It will collect their username so that you can see whose account was used to fill in the form. And then this first one is whether or not you want users to be able to edit their responses. You can actually read the little support information that's there if you want to click on that. So it describes that to you. I'm going to leave that one unchecked. So I need to give my form a title, sample form, and I'm going to type in a description. Normally, I would give the students instructions here. Maybe something about the different questions and stuff like that. We start with 2 sample questions, and you can see that there are a number of different possible question choices. So let's say I want to put in, I'm going to do multiple choice, and I'm going to say, during which period do you have, we'll say, French class? And then I'm going to give them choices. Now I would only give them the choices that are possible correct answers. So maybe it's period 2, period 4, period 5, and period 7. Maybe those are the times that I teach that class. Now what you can do with multiple choices, if you create more pages and sections of your quiz, if you use page break to create additional pages, you could actually use this go to page based on answer. This is called skip logic. And it won't let me do this now because I don't have other pages created, but maybe I wanted my period 2 and period 5 students to answer one set of questions, and my period 4 students to answer another set of questions, and my period 7 students to answer yet another set of questions. So I could send them to different places based on that. This check here, make it a required question, that's up to you. And then done means I'm done editing that one. And then I can go to this next one. I use the pencil to edit, this little duplicating thing to make an exact copy of the question, or this trash can to delete. I'm going to edit. And then maybe I'll say, what is your name in our class? Since sometimes we assign foreign language names to our students. And then that's just going to be text. They have to put that in there. Okay, now I've run out of questions, so I need to add more questions. So I want to show you what some of the other possible choices are. We've seen text. We've seen multiple choice. Paragraph text is where you might have the students write a longer answer. Please describe today's weather in perfect Spanish. Granted, these French students are probably confused by that, but that's okay. I wanted to represent all of the languages if I could. So this would be a longer answer. Again, I want to add an item. Let me show you what checkboxes look like. Checkboxes means that more than one response could be correct and could be checked. So what you'll do is, which of the following languages have you ever studied, right? And I spelled languages wrong. But you guys, being in the languages department, probably caught that. And then I put in maybe in the help text in parentheses, you may select more than one response. I often do that with checkboxes just to point out and remind people that. Okay, so I'm going to put Latin, Spanish, French, Japanese, Mandarin, in no particular order. I'm going to make this one required. And if you want, you could have an other. So the students could maybe add a language they've taken in another setting outside of Harker. Let's add yet another item. Choose from a list. This one is interesting because in the newer version of Forms, it works better, but this looks like the older version of forms. So we're going to go with describe your experience learning a new language, which I'm still spelling wrong. And then they've got choices. It's been fantastic. I have enjoyed it for the most part. I have no strong feelings one way or the other. I have disliked it. Torture. Okay, now the reason I mentioned that it's different in the newer forms is because what I've typically done in the past is you'll notice that it only gives me these 5 choices. So I have put an additional choice, which I don't think it'll let me change, so I'm going to put that one here, and I'm going to put this one here, and I'm going to put this one here. I know this part's a little bit tedious, but I'm just showing you what I do in the older style of forms, which it appears we still have, because I didn't like that it automatically gave them an answer. So no, really, you have to choose an answer. I would put something like that as the first choice, because then in my form, if they left it as no, really, you have to choose an answer, that was their way of not answering the question. But I've seen that in the new version of forms, which I haven't seen us get yet, that that's not an issue. Okay, so now I'm going to add another item because I want to show you what scale and grid look like. Okay, first of all, for the scale question, you can have it start with 0 or 1, and it can go anywhere up to 3. So it could be from, let me check, from 0 to 3, or it can be on a scale of 1 to anywhere from 3 to 10. So if you wanted to, you could say on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is deplorable and 10 is muy agradable, which I think is a good thing. I don't remember. Rate your speaking ability in the language you are now learning, or whatever. So you give bottom and top range, okay? And if agradable means something different from what I think it does, please do forgive. So then they can rate like that on the scale. The other one, grid, is really cool because you can determine what you want the columns to stand for. And then let's make a little quiz out of this. Which language does each teacher currently teach? We'll use the columns for languages. So we'll say Spanish, French, Latin, Mandarin, Japanese, and then we're going to put the teachers' names in. I'm just going to go right down the hall. Mr. Patterson, Madame Gatti, Mr. Manjuan, Mr. Hawley, Miss Onakado, Ms. Irino, Ms. Moss, let's see, Ms. Rosales, Mr. Olivas, Ms. Garcia. I skipped the person right across the hall from me. Okay, sorry, Sean. All right, so then we've got make this required question. So now what they have to do is when they fill it in, they have to select the correct one. You can do that. It's sort of like a matching. Okay, so when you're all done making questions, you've seen that these are the different types of questions. I didn't add section breaks or page breaks, but you could do that and experiment with that. What you want to do is go to the live form. If you wanted to apply a theme to it, you could. There's a way to add the theme right next to create a new item. You go to the live form, now you have the link to it. You can send that to the students, but if you want to embed it, you'll be able to do that right there on your site. So let's say if I wanted to insert it here on my site, I would go to the page where I want to insert it. In this case, it would probably be better to have the 2-column layout because my videos are all in 1 column. I just changed that under layout, 2-column. And I could insert a spreadsheet form. And then I go find my sample form, select it. I'll just leave it like that for now. And then when I save, I can see my form right here in the page. And since this part's a little cut off, muy agradable, which is still questionable what my Spanish is, maybe I want to make this a little bit wider. So I go back up to edit. When I click on this, I will see somewhere the settings. And width, let's go with 500. Save. And then I can see the whole question. But you'll experiment with that. You'll play around a little bit with that.